How do you communicate with others when you can't speak yourself? In this episode of The Business of More, hear the story of the young man with a hidden musical talent and the organization that gave him and others the outlet to share the beauty they have inside. Hope you enjoy. Well, David, thank you for joining us today here on The Business of More. And we have been working with your Goodwill for several years now. And I remember the first time I came on campus with you guys, you took me on a tour around the facilities there. And we stopped in the middle section. And I know you know what I'm talking about, that big, huge middle section. And there was a kitchen, and there was a living room, and there was an art room, and there's a music room, and all these other things. And you were explaining to me that this is your S.T.A.R.S program. And this is an area where people with challenges and disabilities can go to learn life skills and to become independent. And we fast forward a few years, and my wife and I now have a little boy who's 5 years old with learning disabilities. He's autistic. And I think to myself, I fell in love with this idea when I thought about it more, because you're helping people like me. And I wanted to talk to you about that today. But before we get into that, I wanted to, you came on board as the president and CEO of Goodwill, North Central Texas, and the S.T.A.R.S program didn't exist. You already had something going on, maybe something called 14C, and I thought that was just a brutally bad program, but you let me know that it actually served some good. And I was wondering, could you just maybe explain to us what it was, what purpose did it serve, and even how it was abused, and why the need to do something different?
Sure thing. Well, first off, thank you, Elias, for having me today. It's my pleasure to be here to visit with you. And indeed, 14C, it's Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act, which dates back close to 100 years. And what
Wow.
14C does is it allows for employers to hire people with either physical or mental disabilities to do a job and pay these individuals a wage that is less than minimum wage. We call it sub-minimum wage. So you might have heard of it called piece rate. So we employed quite a few individuals under Section 14C, and they would package items or sort items for other companies that we partnered with. And based on how productive they were, the individuals received pay based on how much they were able to produce compared to somebody who did not have a disability. That would be called the prevailing wage. So I was always a fan of the 14C program because it allowed people with significant disabilities with an opportunity to work and I wouldn't say support themselves, because not in every case was it a living wage, but it was a wage. And to see the looks on the people's faces on payday when they were able to take a check home, regardless of if it was a living wage or not, it gave them a purpose. And the power of work cannot be understated for people regardless of disability or barrier. The majority of the people in our 14C program relied on government funding to live their daily lives. They were on disability, and if they made a certain amount, it would cut them off of that. But these individuals were not able to hold competitive employment in the competitive workforce. So it gave them an opportunity to work. However, there were some other companies in the world that were able to get 14C and abuse it and really take advantage of people with disabilities. That was not our case. That was not the case of any Goodwill organization that I've ever heard of. But a few bad players can really tarnish a program that served a good purpose. So there was a lot of noise around it several years ago. There were people protesting 14C because they didn't think it was a fair program. Regardless of your thoughts, we didn't want to be in the middle of that, and we started seeking out other alternatives. How else can we serve this population of people? Because we didn't want to just say, sorry, we're no longer going to do 14C, good luck. They were the heart and soul of our organization. So we went out trying to find another program, and that's when we landed on the idea of S.T.A.R.S.
Yeah, and I hear you, right? That you have people who maybe would work and not normally even be able to earn a wage,
they have an opportunity to earn a wage, to have value, right? That they actually, the work that they do because they're getting paid is actually valuable, and that contributes to your self worth.
Yes.
And to it's an amazing thing. And my guess is that it was a significant transition away from 14C and even thinking, right? What else could we do? Would you just share that story with us? What was it like to rethink how do we keep these people on board and how do we help them continue this march towards independence?
Right. So have you heard of the CASE method? CASE?
I have not.
Okay, it's copy and steal everything. And
Okay.
we use that in Goodwill a lot. That's kind of a joke, but we had heard of a program in Colorado Springs. And I think you know Carla Grazier, an amazing
Yeah.
Goodwill leader. And her Goodwill had a program that was very similar to our S.T.A.R.S program. So we visited Colorado Springs. It's called Possibilities. We saw their program firsthand, and we knew that this was the direction that we wanted to go. Goodwill, North Central Texas, my Goodwill was the second Goodwill in the country to adopt a program like this. And we literally copied it from Colorado Springs
Okay.
because what they were doing was so amazing. It was a big transition trying to convince our participants that had always been in 14C, receiving a paycheck every week, that this was going to be a good move for them because they were no longer necessarily going to be taking home a paycheck every week. But as
Okay.
the participant of S.T.A.R.S, which by the way stands for Skills Training Achieves Results, Training Achieves Results. For those S.T.A.R.S participants, they were instead going to get daily living skills. They were going to learn how to cook, how to plan healthy menus, how to make their bed and do their laundry, how to exercise and live healthy lives, how to do art and theater and work on the computer and grow plants. It's a
Yeah.
multifaceted program that is designed to help them achieve their maximum independence. So, in the daily living scenarios that they go through, to be able to give them base skill set to be able to accomplish things on a daily basis and to succeed in those. Now, as we have evolved over the years, we have gone back to where when they reach a certain level of independence, they do work for Goodwill. They do have a paycheck, but they're making
Wow.
minimum wage or above for limited amount of hours worked. So it's really been a win-win as the program has grown and evolved over the years. You mentioned when you first saw it that we have a kitchen, we have a living room, things like that. We designed S.T.A.R.S just like Colorado Springs designed their Possibilities program. It's a town square. So when you walk in, you have to envision yourself in the middle of a little Disney-like town square, and we have
Yeah.
facades on each room that looks like an apartment, that looks like an art studio, that looks like a town hall. And when the S.T.A.R.S participants go from class to class, it's like they're entering a whole different building. And then when they're all together for breaks or for lunch, they're in the middle of town square. We have this big concrete tree in the middle of the of the town square that's all leafy, and it gives the illusion of you're in your own town, and it's just a really cool atmosphere for the participants to be in.
Yeah. I didn't realize what you just said, that this is new to me. So one of the challenges that you faced was having to have people say, listen, you're not going to necessarily take home a paycheck when we first start this, but we're actually going to try to do something more. And it's not just to keep you at this level. You do this work, you get a check. You do this work, you get a check. You're actually trying to improve and make them more independent, give them the ability to do more with their lives, and so that by the time that they're ready to maybe call quote graduate or reach a certain level, that they do get paid, but the pay is not sub minimum wage; it's actually at least minimum wage.
That's correct. Like I say,
Is that the vision you had when you first started? Is that
yes, because when we first started, and we still have this, it's called the S.T.A.R.S General Store. And every
okay?
Friday, they get to cash in what we call Starbucks. They earn Starbucks throughout the week based on participation, based on good behavior, things like that, participation in class. They are able to take those Starbucks and they can trade them in for gift cards or T-shirts, what have
Okay.
you. We have the store pretty well stocked with things that they either want to splurge on every single Friday, every time they get paid, or they can save their Starbucks, which also teaches them financial
Okay.
responsibility, how to save, and they can save up for a video game console or a TV, something like that.
Okay.
So that's how we started it before we segued into employment opportunities as well. A cool part of our S.T.A.R.S program now is we manufacture bath bombs, bath salts, lotions, all under the brand
Oh,
of
wow.
Edgar's Bath Goods. Edgar Helms was the founder of Goodwill,
Yeah.
and we named it after him. But our S.T.A.R.S participants are actually making these all natural bath products. We're selling them in some of our Goodwill stores and at other boutiques around the North Texas area. And it gives them an opportunity to quote unquote get their hands dirty, to really work and make a
Yeah.
product from the ground up, and they love it. It's been a great thing for them to be able to do.
I imagine that they're able to go to the stores and, with the families say, I did that,
Oh, they're
you
so
know?
proud.
Yeah, that, I did that. That's amazing. That's
And
wonderful.
bath bombs, it's a great match for that because they're pretty easy to make.
Okay.
It is actual hands-on labor to make a bath bomb, but all the products, all the essential oils, everything is all natural. It's non-harmful. It's not anything that we have to worry about. If they, if they have too much exposure to it, it's all natural. It's something you're going to bathe in anyway, right? So it's been a
Yeah.
great fit. There's a good profit margin on the bath bombs that we're making. So all of those go to pay their wages, and the profits go right back into our S.T.A.R.S program to help them with field trips and expenses for food and things like that.
So how long have you been doing this?
The S.T.A.R.S program,
Yeah.
I believe about 10 years now.
Do you have any stories of any people, any individuals that just come right to mind saying, you know what, this is where they were, this is the struggle, this is where they ended up, and we were so proud to be a part of that?
There's several, and every day I hear new stories. But one that comes to mind was a guy named Daniel, and Daniel had autism. And when he came to
Hmm.
us, he was, I would say, nonverbal. I think he was able to speak, but he chose not to. He was very
Yeah.
withdrawn, did not want to interact with anyone, always had his head down, really kept to himself. One day during lunch, we had a piano in the S.T.A.R.S area at the time, and Daniel went over and started playing the piano. And he sounded like a professional piano player. Daniel had never had a music lesson in his life. He didn't know how to read music. He just played by ear. That was one of his gifts that he had through having autism. Well, he became like a S.T.A.R.S celebrity after that. And they all loved. So he would play, frequently for the other S.T.A.R.S. Well, over the course of a couple of years, we saw Daniel start to speak, laugh, make jokes with other S.T.A.R.S. It was amazing to see him come out of his shell.
Yeah.
Those are the stories that we see. We have another guy named Darius who we just did a video on one of our success stories. And he was, right before he went to pre-K, was injured. Him and his mom were driving and were hit by a drunk driver. And he had pretty significant brain damage to the point where they didn't know if he was going to survive. When he graduated out of the high school system, his mom wasn't sure where is Darius going to go. There's not a lot of options for people with significant disabilities once they graduate high school and they lose those
Yeah.
services. So they found S.T.A.R.S, and Darius's mother is our biggest cheerleader, as are most of the parents who have S.T.A.R.S in our program, because their kids all of a sudden have a place that they want to go every day. They look forward to going, to
Yeah.
hanging out with their friends, just like all of us do. We all need socialization and interaction. Darius has just come out of, he too is very quiet, very withdrawn. He is a huge cheerleader for Edgar's Bath Goods. He's one of our S.T.A.R.S who manufactures the bath bombs. He has his favorite scents. He will testify all day long about which scents that you should buy, and he's just very proud of the job that he does. And he loves taking home his paycheck every week, being able to take his mom out to dinner or what have you. It's just heartwarming to see stories like this come out of our S.T.A.R.S program.
You make a good point that the options are limited once you leave a certain setting, right? Once you're out of high school, if there's nothing, and you guys are really filling a void in there. You mentioned as well that there's the kitchen and the home. You also have art and you have creative areas, and I believe that that's an area that's actually dear to your heart, if I'm not mistaken. Found out just recently that you're an artist,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that. How does the incorporation of art and literature and theater how does that fit into this program?
Well, I think number one, the creativity and bringing creativity into that program is critical because it does help our program participants break out of their shells, right? Through expression, through creative expression. Regardless of if they have a talent for art or music or theater, everyone should be able to have a chance to perform or to create. And it really does help them become the best that they can be. I've seen that in my own life. And when I get stressed, I get creative and I go home and I sculpt or I paint. So making that part of our STARS program was really a no brainer for me. And I'm glad we were able to do
Okay.
it. When we first went to Colorado Springs, we were riding back on the airplane, and one of my staff members, Kimberly Smith, and we were sitting next to each other on the airplane. We had a cocktail napkin and we literally drew out how we wanted our town square and our STARS program to look, loosely based
Okay.
on Colorado Springs. But we had a big lunchroom in the middle of our office building. Like you said, it's right in the middle. And we thought this is going to be the
Yeah.
perfect place to put STARS because it is in the middle. And it's kind of the heart and soul of our organization, that these people who are working for us in 14C, we want to keep them in the middle of everything. So we didn't want them off in their own separate building or anything like that. So we came back and we got blue painter's tape and we laid out the rooms on the floor where we wanted them to be. And it was literally as easy as calling up a local, two local foundations and telling them what we had seen in Colorado Springs, telling them what we wanted to do. Within a couple of weeks, we had enough money to go and build
Wow.
this out. So, the generosity from our local community was just key to this. But that creativity of getting to actually have my hands on things and to really build this from the ground up
Yeah.
was so cool.
Yeah. I'm not an artistic person. You don't want to see me draw. In my head, I think to myself, what would I give to somebody who I wanted to be independent? And art wouldn't be one of those things.
Mhm.
And yet, as I hear it, it makes sense. It makes sense because people are programmed. I watch my son walk around the house and he's singing all day long, right? He won't talk. I think they call it non-communicative, right?
Uh-huh.
Because he's actually he won't stop talking, but he won't communicate with us. And for whatever reason, music really touches him,
Right.
and and he resonates. And he'll see a watermelon, he'll sing a song about a watermelon, and he sees a door, and he'll sing a song about a door, and he sees a car, and for whatever reason, that's how he communicates, and that's how the world makes sense to him. And I think it's wonderful that you guys saw that and didn't just keep it to financial issues or housekeeping issues, but that you actually touched their souls basically through art and through music.
And you never know when those songs turn into communication. And that's why I think it's so
Yeah.
important to offer those opportunities for our STARS participants, because you never know when that is going to help them get to that next step of being able to communicate directly. So
Yeah.
that's why we do it. And if you saw the artwork, if you saw the plays that they put on or the songs that they
Yeah.
sing, you'd be blown away. I mean, we have people here in my office that have purchased art from the STARS, not because they say, oh, that's cute, they're doing art, but because it's good art. They do an amazing job. So it's great.
You've got that large piece, I think, in maybe the kitchen area or someplace like
It's
that.
in our
It's
conference room.
beautiful.
Yeah, we commissioned the STARS when we moved into our new headquarters to do this large triptych. It's probably 15 feet long. It's a large piece. And all I said was I wanted to be colorful and I wanted to show Goodwill's work in the Fort Worth community. And they came up with a
Yeah.
skyline, and the sky is all like paint splatters and bright colors, and there's a big Goodwill logo in the middle, kind of a graffiti style. It's really cool. And I
Beautiful.
can't tell you how many people comment on that when they come into our conference room.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you guys have just recently moved your corporate office and you've actually expanded the S.T.A.R.S program in the old corporate. You kept the facility.
That's right.
What's the future of S.T.A.R.S look like?
So the need is great. We currently actually have two different locations for S.T.A.R.S. We have the one in
Okay.
Fort Worth, and then we have one in Grapevine, Texas. We need a third. There is a waiting list at both of our locations because it is such a
Wow.
popular program, and there's really nothing else like it in the community. The other
Yeah.
alternative for adults with disabilities is, if their group home, if they live in a group home, has activities or something like that, or sitting at home watching TV. And
Yeah.
who of us would really like
Yeah.
to do that on a daily basis? I mean, yeah, that might sound great for a week, but if you're talking
Yeah.
about for the rest of your life, that's not really a productive way of living, nor is it
Yeah.
rewarding. So I think that parents see that, the participants see that, and there is just a huge demand for our services. So we're currently in the process of raising funds and looking at other locations in the Fort Worth area for a third S.T.A.R.S location.
Wow. Wow. I thought there was only the one, and that's amazing that there's just so much demand.
We actually
And this.
currently total in both locations, we have 180 people that are served through
Oh
S.T.A.R.S.
goodness.
So that's phenomenal.
How long does somebody stay in that program, or is there a limit
There's no
or
limit.
anything like that?
A lot of our
Okay.
S.T.A.R.S participants have been with Goodwill either through 14C or through S.T.A.R.S longer than I've been here, and that's 26 years. It's
Oh wow.
very much like a
Wow.
family. You come in, you're a part of the Goodwill S.T.A.R.S family. Some will, I guess, quote unquote, graduate out of the program or go to full time or part time employment, but the
Okay.
vast majority stay with us for the long haul.
And this is just such an inspiration to me, and it's the thing that sticks out to me the most. And as you and I were having conversations, you reminded me that this is just one program. It feels like a full-time program for Goodwill. I mean, you're looking at a third location. It's just such a huge venture. But you guys are actually doing much more than just this.
Right.
And your team has a deep concern for the homeless population in your area, and you're working with S.T.A.R.S, but you're also reaching out to the homeless population. What is the need like there, David, in your area, in your territory?
It's huge, just like it is wherever you are in the United States today. Homelessness is an issue that continues to grow. Uh, Here at Goodwill North Central Texas, we serve five key populations. We've already talked about people with disabilities, and one way that we serve them is through S.T.A.R.S. That's about 180 people a year. All in all, we're serving over 11,000 people per year through all of our
Oh wow.
services. But we also have
Wow.
services for veterans, for youth who need to get their high school equivalency, for people coming out of the criminal justice system, and then, like you mentioned, for people facing homelessness. And our homeless program currently serves about 1,800 people a year, which
Wow.
is phenomenal because it started very, very small. That's kind of an interesting story because we've always served people facing homelessness through our different programs, but we didn't really have an outreach specifically for people facing homelessness. And we have found that the needs of this community are greater and they're different from the other populations that we serve that I just mentioned.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
quite a few years ago, I was with my daughter, and we were down in the part of town where a lot of the homeless live in the various shelters and on the streets. And we had gone with my church to feed the homeless people. And we had a buffet line set up at this park, and we were serving eggs. And my daughter was standing there next to me, and she had eyes that looked like deer in the headlights, like, what am I seeing? Because she was sheltered.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this mom and her son came through the line, and he was like, Mom, I don't like eggs. And she told him, well, you better eat them because you don't know when your next meal is going to be. And
Wow.
with that, my daughter, she kind of teared up and she looked at me and she said, Dad, does Goodwill do anything to help these people? And I was like, wow, yes, we do
Yeah.
help them if they find their way to us, but we're not doing anything specifically to help these people right here in front of us. So
Yeah.
literally the next week, I made appointments with a couple of the directors of our local homeless shelters. And I asked them, who is helping your residents find employment? And their answer shocked me because it
Yeah.
was like, nobody is. So I said, can Goodwill be that person? And they were, resounding yes. So
Wow.
We hired one person, and this one person went to the different shelters. It would spend one day here, one day there, just reaching out to people and helping connect them to jobs with employers that Goodwill
Wow.
partners with. That's where we started. And then we received a grant from the Fort Worth Foundation, which supports homeless initiatives. Then
Yeah.
we leveraged that and we got other grants and government funding. And it just grew and grew to where now we have 15 staff members. And like I said, last year served 1,800 people in that program.
Wow.
And it's not just Goodwill; it's us partnering with other initiatives locally and other organizations to provide holistic services for homeless individuals to get them back into the workforce.
So David, that's amazing. I just hear good things. What kind of impact is for somebody who doesn't know? What kind of impact does that have on the community? 1,800 people. Are we talking 1,800 people are helped to find work? Are we talking about what are we looking at
So
here?
those are 1,800 people placed into jobs, and not just placed into jobs and forgotten, but placed into jobs and then with follow-up services for months and months to come to make sure that it's a good match for them and that they stay employed. Because a lot of times
Yeah.
you start a job and it's not a good match, especially if you're homeless. There are other challenges, transportation,
Yeah.
what have you. Do you have a warm shower to, do you have clothing? Do you have things that you will need in order to keep that job? So we do
Yeah.
follow up with for months after those placements to make sure that it's a successful placement. We're not able to serve everyone that comes to us through our program. They may not be ready for employment, and that's where the other partner organizations come in. Maybe there is an addiction problem, maybe there's a mental health
Yeah.
issue. We have to get those addressed before somebody is ready to be placed into employment. Ideally, they have a pathway to housing so that is
Okay.
already on the radar before they get placed into employment. It's like a three-legged stool. You have to have health, you have to have employment, and you have to have housing. Those are the three things you really need to work your way out of homelessness. And we're providing the employment piece, but the housing and the health sides are just as vitally important.
It touches my heart. It's inspirational. I appreciate you talking to us today about this. I love the work that you're doing. You've been with Goodwill for 10 years, but this sounds like it's something that's been part of you for maybe most of your life. And one of the questions that we ask all of our guests is, what has helped you to develop and to grow as you have gone through? Is there a book or two that you say, you know what, this has had the significant impact on my life as I've developed
Sure.
in business and in just being a person?
Sure. And I don't want to correct you, but I've been with Goodwill for 26 years. I had
Okay,
the pleasure of serving as CEO for the past 10. So
forgive me.
that's what you're
Yeah,
thinking. That's what you're thinking. But that's part of my story is coming through the ranks at Goodwill. I started as marketing director in 1999 and
okay,
I was given opportunities by my predecessors, two other CEOs who I succeeded, to really give me opportunities to learn and to grow. A lot of that was within my local Goodwill. A lot of that came from Goodwill Industries International and their training programs.
yeah,
Around the time I became CEO, I read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell.
yep,
That's an old standard, and it's something that I still refer back to often because I think it's that good. I've read a lot of different
yeah,
leadership books, but that's the one that seems to resonate best with me. And a lot of that reason is because it teaches you to achieve buy-in from your team and how to build your team so that when you cast a vision, you can get their buy-in and they can go along with you and support you because we're only as good as our teams as leaders.
yeah.
And I firmly believe in that. And developing my team, hiring the best people I can possibly hire, they make my life very easy and they make it easier to serve the number of people that we serve here at Goodwill, North Central Texas.
That's wonderful. And then last question again, the question that we ask everybody. If you could go back and talk to a younger you, whatever age that would be, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say to slow down and to be patient because good things will come. We talk a lot about good, being goodwill.
Yeah,
Everything seems to be labeled as good, but good things will come if you're patient. Many years ago, before I came to Goodwill, I felt a call to ministry, and I didn't really know what
Okay.
that was going to look like. I didn't necessarily see myself preaching from a pulpit every Sunday, but I knew that I had a call. And I should have been patient with that. I kind of tried to force that, but it all happened anyway because I fully consider my role today as a ministry,
Yeah, of course.
not only to my community but to the people in my organization. And I feel that it's a calling, and this is where God has me. This is definitely my
Yeah.
calling in life, is to head this Goodwill organization. So I wish I could have just been patient and stepped back and seen that big picture a little bit sooner.
And that makes sense. I think that's good advice for all of us, even today,
Indeed.
just to slow down. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. This has been a blessing for me, and I look forward to seeing you here soon. And keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Elias.